there was a dinner last night here in Washington. The president has decided for political strategy purposes to go on the road 2 years in a row during this dinner. I get it. Smart politics on the president's part. But did the media play into the president's hand with a dinner last night where the comedian was, some say, crossed the lines? The attacks on Sarah Sanders, the White House press secretary, were, in my view, I was not there. You were, Jeff Zeleny, way too personal. There's a way to do this and there's a way not to do this. What happened?
Look, there was a comedian at the dinner last evening. I thought the jokes were one-sided, not necessarily funny, but she was invited by the White House Correspondents Association. So, I think that this dinner has had a lot of bad moments. Was thinking back last evening as I was watching this cringeworthy performance in some respects going after the appearance of Sarah Sanders, which I thought was inappropriate and not funny. The weapons of mass destruction video from the Bush administration where people were climbing around the floor of the Oval Office looking for the WMD, also not funny. So it's not the first time there have been awkward moments. But look, I think the president wins. He goes out to Washington, a township of Michigan, far away from this. The press has done a lot of incredible work this year here at CNN. Of course, the Washington Post, New York Times, other places. A lot of that was, I think, overtaken by a skit that wasn't very funny. And we sometimes celebrate ourselves too much, I think. The reality is it's a important job. And last night, I don't think we lived up to it.
Right, incredibly important moment in the sense that we do need to stand up to this president who attacks us. Sure. We do need to stand up to this White House, which often shades, if not just twists and bends the truth. But there's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. And you invite people at your table. You invite people at your table. This is supposed to be a circuit breaker dinner. It's supposed to be a circuit breaker dinner where we know this is tense throughout the year. We're going to invite you into this room. You have to find the right balance.
It's also, like, if you endorse a comedian, even if you're not vetting the jokes, you're effectively endorsing what they say, and she is effectively speaking for the press at a very, very tense moment. And also, there's the optics of it, right? Because this is, fine, the circuit breaker between reporter and subject, okay, cool. But it's not that. It's the reporter and the subject, and you're inviting all of America into the living room where you're having that circuit breaker chat, And the optics of it do not translate necessarily that well. And if you are somebody who is already primed to be skeptical of whether the media is, unbiased or not, it's difficult to have the disclaimer that says, wait a second, this is just an outtake, this isn't really us, because you see what you see. And when you have the president on the other screen, talking the way he's talking and not letting up, he's not doing a circuit breaker speech. There you go.
Well, some people love these things. I stopped going to prom a long time ago. I think it jumped the shark a long time ago. But here, the president trying to take advantage of it this morning. While Washington, Michigan was a big success, Washington, D.C. just didn't work. Everyone is talking about the fact that the White House Correspondents' Dinner was a big bust, big boring bust. So-called comedian really bombed. Look, people will have different views on this, but the president, this is one of the reasons he is president, runs against the establishment, runs against the elites. Smart politics from the president right out of the box on Twitter this morning.
Yeah, this absolutely 100%, as we talked about in the Green Room, was a gift to him. Chris Wallace received a journalism award, I think maybe 4 months ago or so, and I remember him saying to the media, the message was, do not get sucked into this narrative the president has been trying to peddle for a long time, which is that it's me versus the press, and the press is out to get me. A lot of times, we are attacked, our stories are attacked, they're called fake news, and the reflex is to defend yourself and maybe make jokes at the White House. But if you do that, you undermine your own credibility, and it's just a bad look for us. We can't get down.
I don't agree with what has been said so far here, just to be honest. Okay. The comedian said some things. Okay, the comedian's jokes were not vetted by. I don't believe the comedian's speaking for the reporters at all. In a lot of ways, the president's been attacking the press for 3 years. If those jokes were not made last night, he would continue to attack the press. The idea that if we had a more neutral comedian, if Jay Leno had been there, that he would not attack the press, I think is nonsense.
It's not to say.
That's a very important point. That's not the point I was trying to make. I just think that there's a balance to it. There's a balance to it, and the president will continue to attack us. And to that point, it's our job to stand up. And here's one of the points right here. The president last night was bragging about how he was out of the swamp. He was away from the fake news media that hates him. There's not a fake news media, and it doesn't hate you. It has to cover you with accountability, as we will. Like when you do this, the president says he's outside of the swamp. Right? The swamp is a terrible thing. He calls up on stage his former campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, and his former deputy campaign manager, David Bossie. I think we can show you the pictures here. These are two guys who trade access to people in Washington because they make money off their access to the president. That's the swamp. That's the swamp. He took the swamp with him.
I mean, the swamp has not been drained. It's been filling. I mean, just look at the cabinet members who have undergone all these issues here. So look, he wins rhetorically. I think what is probably not productive is a discussion about a dinner last evening that has very little consequence. The reality is there are a lot of things going on in the country here. I think we probably disagree on some of this matters, but the president wins last night rhetorically, no question.